Yes, Mayor. On the issue of accountability, will you or your business administrator see that the city return to the practice of writing annual reports for each department? The city ordinances require an annual report by the end of the first quarter. For 2007, only Alzac and Water and Sewer did an annual report.
Okay, Michelle, you're going to have to address that. I know that you have management reports and metrics and lots of things we never had in departments before. And I also know, when I was on the council, I used to look at the management reports, and they were nice, pretty pictures, and I would get very upset because they didn't have substance to them. They had nothing that the community could really measure and hold those departments accountable. So if we're not producing the reports, the truth of the matter is, we can tell you how many, I remember some of the stuff that jumped up off the page to me last time, how many lots we cleaned this year compared to last year, and what was the budget for that. This is a level of analysis that was not done before we got into City Hall, and we could produce that stuff. And if we're not in compliance with an ordinance, as we often find out we're not in compliance with ordinances, I think it's something that we need to do. And we need vigilant people to help us out. I will answer one more question. From you trying to abuse the fact that you're the Cory Booker or whatever, and you don't watch Star Trek. That should be a requirement written into it, that if you've got this Cory Booker position.
And Diet Coke, apparently.
And you don't drink Diet Coke, which I'm trying to weed off too. Yes?
Touching a little bit on Dr. Kervin's question of good politics versus good governance.
Yes.
School board elections are coming up,
yes,
as you know, and I have to say, even though I'm the Cory Booker Scholar, and I'm very proud to be the Cory Booker Scholar, I was a little disappointed in last year's race.
Why is the woman behind you shaking her head up?
A little. I don't know who you're talking about.
And turning red right now.
I have no clue who you're
I have no clue either.
I was a little disappointed last year, a little disappointed this year because knowing that education is my passion in the city, seeing there being accountability for our schools in the city I think is really important, especially trying to get local control back. We really need to have a strong board of people that really care about education. And I see frequently the Board of Education in the city, or the school board, being treated as a stepping stone to higher office. And so I'm just wondering, can you discuss a little bit how you choose to back your candidates and what you look for?
Sure. So, but I have to go a little deeper than that. I think, and I wasn't around, Bob, but I think one of the biggest mistakes that happened in the city of Newark was going from a mayoral control school system to going to a locally elected school system. It took me tens of thousands of votes to get elected to the office I hold right now, and people can get elected to school board races by 2,000 votes. I don't agree with the system itself of the school board. And right now, the school board really doesn't have that much power. We're in a state takeover system right now. So the process that we've been putting a lot of resources and energy to have not necessarily been school board races. They've actually been trying to create the political climate as well as the understanding amongst our electorate that where everybody from the Gates Foundation, the Broad Foundation, National Foundations have all said, where you see revolutionary change, where Arne Duncan came from in Chicago, what they're trying to do in New York City and debating right now as we speak, I'll give you a lot of other models, is when there's strong mayor accountability. And I can say, just like I said with crime, hold me accountable for driving the murder rate down. I can say, hold me accountable for student achievement. So my biggest frustration in all of this is I think that there's this fearsome arguments and debates over things that really don't make change. And my goal right now is to make as quick and massive change in student outcome and achievement as possible. So my political machinations around school board races ultimately are all things I'm doing to try to get to my higher goal, which is ultimately when the referendum comes, and it's coming, Newark voters will get to decide how we're going to run our schools. And that's really more what I'm interested in, is when we have a chance to vote, I want to educate the public to know the difference between having a low accountable school board that really is ultimately about the race to the lowest common denominator, because it'd be like having a city council running a city where everybody's trying to strike their deals or deal with their interests, as opposed to having centralized accountability. Newark made the right choice in 1954 when they moved from a commission form of government, which was not getting anything done, and they moved to a strong mayor form of government. So if you want to know my education agenda, which if you're as wedded to the same outcome as I am, which is high student achievement, then the steps I'm trying to get there is, number one, do everything in accordance to the rules right now. So we've done, in Newark, New Jersey, we were chosen as one of 3 schools in America to bring the largest charter school experiment in the country. So now we have about $25 million fund to take our overachieving charter schools and bring them to scale. And the good thing about this is we're also holding those few, there's about 3 low-performing charter schools in Newark. We're trying to create real what charter schools should be. If you don't perform for 2 or 3 years, you should shut down. And we're trying to hold them accountable as well. I'm trying to work with a new superintendent who is independent of the school board. They don't tell him what to do, as I did in my meeting earlier yesterday. And talked to him about how can we make radical schools. So we went in there and we talked about a few things. We said, what is the bottom quartile of schools in Newark? And we actually have some plans to do some very difficult things. And I actually think if the school board controlled them, they'd be like, okay, those 6 schools in the South Ward, yeah, you guys can do that plan, but not in my local school, where my people are employed, or my kid goes to school. Not decisions that I think would necessarily come out of a school board, but I think they will come out of the strong executive we have in Dr. Jayde. So these elections, which a lot of emotion and passion seems to swirl around, but then only 2,000 people show up and vote, it's not something I'm that invested in. And ultimately, some of the decisions I make are patently political because they're important to me to try to set up a picture for the larger win that I seek, which is returning the school system to local control and mayoral control. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor Booker, again. Sorry, just a moment while we get our together. Again, thank you, Mayor Booker, as you leave, for answering our questions. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here this evening. Again, if we could give him another round of applause. And thank you all again for being in attendance this evening. My name is Brooke Barrett, and with me is Hafsa Ibrahim. We are both graduating Urban Policy and Management Master students at Milano and very grateful recipients of scholarships named in honor of Mayor Booker and of the remarkable moderator, Dr. Robert Curbin, this evening. As we move into the question and answer portion of the evening, we were supposed to originally have a conversation with Mayor Booker and Dr. Curbin. Unfortunately, Mayor Booker has to go. So we're actually going to be moving directly into our panel portion of the evening. But as we move into that, and to kind of echo a little bit of what Mayor Booker was talking about, I'd ask you all to consider the words of the unmatchable Edward R. Murrow, who stated that a nation of sheep will beget a government of wolves. Too often it seems that we look to recognizable leaders in our quest to define and ensure good government, when in fact it is incumbent upon each of us to ensure civic integrity. But this doesn't mean that our public servants are off the hook. So in the spirit of thoughtful inquiry, I hope that you are not an audience of sheep tonight, and that you take the opportunity to ask thoughtful questions to our panel, and blank index cards, I believe, are all with you at your seats, and you can ask questions on those. We'll have people come around and pick those up, and those will be delivered to Dr. Curbin. And thank you all again for attending this evening. We hope that it inspires you to become more involved in ensuring good government in Newark, but also in your respective communities. And I will pass this off to Hafsa.
Thank you, Brooke. I'll be brief. I just wanted to thank you all for having us here. It's an honor to actually meet the namesakes of and see the namesakes of our scholarships speak this evening. So I'll just turn it over to the panel and thank you.